So, hi, Lauren. We are here today with Lauren, who is an amazing person. What can I tell about you? You are a digital nomad. You do many things. You have your own business now on mindfulness. And do you want to say a few words about you, maybe?
Wow. Okay. I'm Lauren from the Netherlands, indeed, but a digital nomad. So I kind of do live in the world where I want to, which is amazing. I have worked and lived in East Africa and then in Asia. I was working for MindValley before. Some of you may have heard of it. And right now I'm indeed working on my own business. So I can still do that from anywhere in the world. So I'm really like designing what I do in life around the lifestyle that I'd like to live. And yeah, it's just amazing. What can I say?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm very curious about this digital nomad
Yes.
thing, and I think a lot of people are because it's something.
Mm.
Especially nowadays, we're dreaming about it, right? Oh, we can work from everywhere, and we can just be on a computer on the beach and stuff like that. And it also has, of course, it also has downsides. So I'd love to talk about the ups and downs and how it's really like. So first of all, now you're in the Netherlands, but where
Mhm.
did you? So you said you were in East Africa. Where did you go actually?
This was a while back, a few years ago. I was in Congo, Burundi, Rwanda, so all over the East, working for an NGO. That
Okay.
was before I moved to Asia for the past few years. Yeah, yeah.
So where in Asia were you?
Whoa, kind of also all over the place. Mostly Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, well, specifically Bali. So, and traveling around as well. Singapore, Myanmar, Cambodia,
And you've
etc.
been doing that for how many years now?
Past 3 years, I was in Southeast Asia. Yeah, past
But
3 years.
when did you left actually the Netherlands?
Uh, 6 years ago. So
6 years
right
ago.
after,
Wow,
yeah, right
that's a
after
lot.
graduation, I finished my studies. I left, and I never came back. No, that's not true. I do come back to visit family in
Yeah,
summer. Yeah, just like now. Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, it's quite a lifestyle, I guess.
Mm.
How does it practically? How is it? Do you like it? Do you miss some things? Do you?
I think I'm actually super flexible when it comes to getting adjusted to new locations, new cultures, the new food, the new people, everything. So I rarely miss anything or even anyone to an extent. That may sound a bit strange, but actually it fits this lifestyle very well because it also means you're very open and very quick in connecting with people, and you actually appreciate what you have in that given moment. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate going back to certain things. So for example, when I go back to the Netherlands to visit family, there's certain food here in Western Europe that I don't have in Southeast Asia. So I'm enjoying it again when I have it again, but I don't miss it when I don't. So I think that's the number one thing for me. I'm just very much in the moment, very much
Yeah.
working and enjoying what I have, and yeah, very adaptive and adaptable in that sense as well. I think that's one of the keys of it too at the same time. And this is also, I think, why it doesn't fit everyone, because some people are very much kind of attached to a certain location, certain people around them, certain habits, etc.,
Yeah.
which doesn't always fit this lifestyle necessarily. So it's also good practice in that sense as well.
And what
Non-attachment.
about friends? Do last time I
Mm.
think we talked about it, and you said you had a community of friends who actually are like you and moving around.
Yes, literally all my friends and definitely all my best friends, they live very similar or even the same kind of lifestyle. They're all living somewhere else than where they're from.
Mhm.
And the amazing thing is, first of all, having worked for MindValley for a few years, of course, that's a big community. And I literally meet either a direct contact or a friend of a friend everywhere I go. It's almost crazy. Once you enter this kind of lifestyle and enter this kind of community, there's so many of us around. So no matter where I go, there's always people that I know or that I know through friends that I already have. So I also never feel lonely or alone, and it's you get to know each other, and we're spread all over the world. So there's always someone around who you've already connected to, or who actually lives the same kind of lifestyle, which is already connecting right away. It's almost hard to put into words. It's something you got to experience for yourself, I'd say, of course.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's kind of the condition. Maybe I don't
Mm.
know. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you didn't have those friends, if you didn't have this community, it would be
Mm.
harder. No, it would be like you will feel a kind of alone, a stranger in a country, kind of. No.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And I am not sure what came first, like chicken or egg story kind of thing. But for
Mm,
me, even still living in the Netherlands, because I finished my studies here, I traveled during studies for like semester abroad, research abroad, all those kinds of things, internship abroad as well. So I've had it like early on. I think I first left when I was 16 and then 19, went to Africa by myself already, these kinds of things. So
mm,
it was definitely in me already early on. But even the studies that I did in my birth country, they're already like international studies in English, because we speak Dutch normally, right? International friends from all over the world as well. So I think I entered this kind of, yeah, let's call it community, right? So early on that I also built this kind of community very early on, which means all of my friends already international. And I actually do not have many, let's say, local and primary school, high school friends left whom I stayed in contact with after I finished those schools. I'm just reflecting now, but no. So it's always been like this for me, almost. If you get what I mean. So
yeah,
yeah, but it's
because
true. I do think it would be very hard if you have your specific friends who are, let's say, local, who are in a specific location, and then if you would leave and being the only one who would leave, leaving everyone behind, I think it does definitely feel different, because then you're basically detaching yourself from your current reality, your current connections, etc. And I think that's a different reality indeed than the one I'm living and the one I'm describing here. Yeah, yeah.
and how do you work? How do you work when you're abroad and you find a new job? How does it? Can you find easily work, or did you find easily some work?
I Yeah, I did. So actually, moving to Africa was because I found a job there. I was working for
Yeah.
an NGO from the Netherlands, but they would send people to Africa and to other post-conflict areas as well. So I worked for them for about like 2 years, I think. And after that, I found a job with MindValley then. So actually, the first few years, I moved for my job. And I was so flexible to where I would move to. I would find a job in Congo, then I would find a job in Malaysia. I would be like, sure, I'll move, not a problem. I'm happy to. So that's how it started off for me, actually. And after that, I stayed as a contractor for a company for MindValley. And then I started with my own company. So now I'm fully flexible. I can keep
Mm,
the same job and keep the same work in various locations. Whereas before, I was temporarily tied to a location because of the job I would have there. So before, I was working from an office, but abroad. And now I'm actually working from co-working spaces, from my own place, my own house, etc. Because now I literally work online. So that kind of means I became a digital nomad a few years ago. Because having a job, a fixed job abroad, doesn't define you as a digital nomad per se. That just means you actually live and work abroad. Do you get the difference between
mm.
the two? Is it clear?
No, because you cut at the same time at one point. What the difference
Ah,
between what and what?
being a digital nomad and having a job abroad, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I know, but tell me again, so people also listening who
Yeah.
don't know can
So yeah,
be.
like I said, yeah, the first few years I was actually working at an office for a foreign company or organization.
Yeah,
So
so that's not being
I
a digital nomad. That's you work
no,
in another country. Simply, yeah.
yeah, exactly, because you're still tied to the location. It's just not the location that you were born at. That's the whole difference. But then once you start working online, meaning like on your laptop, and you're no longer needing to be stuck to a specific
Yeah.
location, you become a digital nomad. So that's what I've done for the past few years, which is definitely recommendable from my side. And I do think many of us are actually going in that direction with COVID, right? A lot of us are
Yeah.
working remotely, as we call it, because of the pandemic.
But I think a lot of people also need some sense of security, whatever it means, some sense of being rooted somewhere. I know that
Mm,
I do. I wouldn't like
mm,
to. I mean, I love to travel. I travel a lot for work
Mm,
also, but I wouldn't like to be all the time in different countries, also for different reasons, not just for
mm,
this sense of security and this. But I think that's also what's interesting with remote work
mm,
and being dreaming of being a digital nomad is actually, I think, is very different from really being one, because I think a lot of people today are dreaming from something they don't have, right? They're in their jobs,
mm,
they go to work in the morning. Oh, what if I could be on the beach and just
yeah.
work on my stuff and go wherever I want? But if they did so, I think they would miss a lot of things. I know I would. It's not something like judgmental, like, oh, you think you want,
Mm,
but it's just I know, for
mm,
example, we it has nothing to do with digital nomad, but we went to we went to Amsterdam with my wife,
mm,
and
mhm.
so it was a bit of a specific situations because both of us, we were working from our computers but in one place. So we
Yeah.
can say we're digital nomad, but it's just a country next door, so it's not really
Well,
Southeast Asia. I'm just saying that we didn't have any
mm,
community, any link, and we missed our
mm,
family and friends a lot. And so it
mm.
was social life
And I
in
wasn't
general.
around, so
What?
I wasn't around in the Netherlands that time, so I couldn't show you guys
No,
around.
no, but
It's fine.
we had actually two friends over there, but it's how can I say, you don't. It depends on well, my point is depends on each people. We are close to our
Mm,
family, and I want to see my niece growing up. I want to see my
mhm.
parents. I want to see my brother and sisters, and I have good friends in Paris. They're not traveling around with me. They're not digital nomad, so
Yeah,
yeah, at some point we're
yeah,
missing that, and I think a lot of people would, for also their own reasons. Maybe they're not so close to their family, but they're very close to their friends, or maybe
mm,
the work they're doing abroad, it's not what I
mm.
actually thought it would be. So it's definitely not for everyone, joining on what you were saying before.
I do agree. A lot of people actually have that need for security, and I was actually surprised because right now with the pandemic, a lot of people working from home. I was
Yeah,
expecting people to be like, "Oh, Lauren, now I get it. This is what you do. This is fun. I wanted to," but I got the opposite response most of the time. People like, "Ah,
yeah,
I really don't get it. Why do you like this? This is so like ungrounded. This is so like all over the place, kind of literally." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect that response from people." So it actually shows me that this is definitely not for everyone. However, what you said about like constantly moving around and stuff, some of the digital nomads do, and so did I in the beginning. But the beauty of this is that you're so flexible because you fully manage every aspect of your life to an extent that if you have the need to be more grounded or to be more stable for a while, you actually can decide to stay in a certain location longer. There's some of us, let's say, I don't like to speak in terms of us versus them, but like there's some
yeah.
digital nomads that spend 6 months, 12 months, maybe even 2, 3 years in a location. At some point, you wouldn't black and white call them digital nomads anymore. I mean, the definition is not fully clear actually because it's quite a new concept that
Yeah,
came up
but they
only
have
2 years
different
ago.
kinds, I guess, also.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, different types indeed. But for example, for me right now, I mean, I visit my family every summer, anyways. But I went earlier this year and probably a bit longer too, because I also could use some stability and some foundation, because I'm just starting off my own business, which is already like something, right? And already a lot of my energy time goes in that. And I was moving around within Bali at the time, and it just felt like too much, too many new various elements the whole time. So I decided to actually go back to
Mm.
Europe earlier than planned. I mean, later than planned because of COVID, but then earlier than planned because
Yeah,
from my new plans, just because I could use some stable foundation. So
yeah.
I'm also as yeah, to that extent flexible that I can decide what I need in a certain moment, and then make sure that I can meet my own needs and make decisions based on that. So right now I'm stable temporarily.
Yeah, but also you don't have kids, right? So,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
do.
not that I know. Do you have kids?
No, I don't have.
Okay,
Neither do you,
which
right?
is
Okay.
something already you're that you lose this flexibility when you have your kids, because I mean it doesn't need to be black and white, but what I mean is that I don't have kids either, and I know that people who have kids, the first thing they tell you is they don't want to change school every month. They don't want to They don't want to
Mm,
start over necessarily in a new country. If your child has a problem, they want to know, and they think of
yeah,
security as well, right? And grounding for your child. It's not impossible. It's just different. So
true. And what I do see, people who did live this kind of lifestyle and who have that kind of like urge, I would almost say, as I do, once they have kids, which is not many to be very honest, then usually they would decide to settle down, at least for a few years, in one specific location.
mm,
But that location is still oftentimes abroad. For sure, many still do not go back to the country that they came from, but then they
yeah.
would settle somewhere where they appreciated living before. That's generally what I see happening, at least around. But this is not from my own experience. Indeed, I don't have kids. Yeah, yeah.
No, but it's interesting. It is interesting because it's not.
Mm,
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, me included, we are thinking of different ways of living,
yeah,
and
yeah,
each country has ups and downs, right? Each country has amazing things and things that are so annoying at the same time. In France,
yeah.
especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're so tired of France, and the mentality is not entrepreneur oriented. But
Mm.
there is a great social security. There are you know that you know the systems. You know the no. It's important when you know it's something
Mm.
stupid, but when you're sick in another country,
Yes,
what
yes,
do you
yes.
do? What do you do?
Especially
You
now
don't
as
know. You
well.
don't know how to say doctor in the language of the country. You're like, "Oh." So
Mm. Yeah,
it's.
true.
I can't imagine if you have a child. What do you do when you have a child and you're like he's sick and you don't and you go to a hospital that is shitty and
Mm.
that must be a nightmare. So it's I think
Yeah.
it all depends on each person's flexibility, each person's situation, but definitely to recap a little bit, you
Mm.
would say that it's definitely easier when you have a community of people. So how do you
Mm.
connect with the community of digital nomads, remote workers, stuff like that? How would you recommend to someone who wants to be a digital nomad to connect with such a community?
What I usually do every new place I go to, first thing I do is check on Facebook, change my location to where I am, and go through all the Facebook events. Okay, that's not super applicable right now, of course, but
Yeah.
generally, go check out all the Facebook events and start going to those events because I'm telling you, the very first one you go to, you'll meet people you connect with. It's so easy just because everyone is on the same so-called wavelength.
Yeah.
It is so easy. It almost doesn't matter what you do, but if you do something, you'll meet people with whom you'd like to stay in touch, with whom you could go for lunch that week or whatnot. There's of course also many platforms or many organizations like Internations, like what's the other one again? Yeah, Meetup, for example. There's quite a few of those types of platforms where digital nomads can literally find each other, especially those moving around, because those platforms are also worldwide. So no matter which location you are, you can check in a platform and then find again the people who are there too with you, basically. So there's a few of those. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't even matter what you do, but do something. Like put yourself out there, go to places, go to events, and also don't be shy. As in, like when you're working from a cafe, for example, feel free to go up to someone and speak to them. In this kind
Mm.
of community, this kind of lifestyle, that's normally very much appreciated, very much accepted, because that's how we meet each other and that's how we connect with each other and that's how you
Be-
find people who are in a similar
because the
situation.
other guys feel also alone, I guess, and wants to connect. I mean, all of them,
I mean,
but some of them, I guess.
I wouldn't say alone, but yeah, not everyone does definitely,
Yeah.
but there's usually always room for, yeah, for the more the merrier kind of mindset. So
Mm.
it's generally very accepted in these kinds of circles. I'm generalizing, of course. I mean, everyone is different, but generally, it's definitely something that I would say is different than being in your own hometown, maybe even in your own country, because in certain locations, for example, Western Europe, again, generalizing, that's not always something you do. People would generally kind of look to you like, why are you talking to me? Do we know each other?
Yeah.
But in certain places where a lot of digital nomads go around, that's quite like, yeah, appreciate it. It's nice. It's fun meeting new people. We love it kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's, yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And do you think it's easier when you're younger and you that to do this because of family and you have a wife and
Mm,
they have their own thing, own job, maybe they don't want to do the same thing as you know. I mean,
mm,
if I guess also if you, to just arguing against myself. If you meet someone in this community that
Mm,
is in the same thing as you, then I guess it's the
mm,
perfect deal, right? You are with the person who is
yeah.
flexible as well, who wants to travel, who's well in this country. But it's I'm just wondering, is it a young people's game? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or can you
I do.
also do it
Oh,
after?
I totally get what you mean. There are plenty of like older digital nomads, but
Yeah,
generally they have started early on. So I do see that pattern. And it's true, if this is really like, let's say, in your blood, like it seems to be for me, for example, I wouldn't be able to date someone who doesn't have the same want and need. So you would probably meet someone in the same community with the same
yeah,
lifestyle and then continue doing so together. However, I must say for a lot of digital nomads, one of the main challenges and complaints as well is that it's difficult for them to have long-term relationships because of the lifestyle.
yeah,
Because everything is so kind of like flexible and short term to an extent, they also find it difficult to meet someone with whom they can keep building this lifestyle together and keep being on the same page. Because basically, anytime one of them would like to go to a next location, the other one needs to agree or like be on the same page.
yeah,
This is not my own experience because I've always been kind of like very lucky in that regard. I have had relationships with whom, like, yeah, guys with whom I was able to travel around and stay for months and years. But it's not the experience for everyone, as I'm hearing around. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's fun. It's also interesting to see that they would rather. Yeah, it's all about choices every time. It's all about the
True.
choices you make, and because I mean, whatever lifestyle you choose, what I hate is when people complain. If you can be, you can
Yeah.
have
Do
the in
something
my
about
family.
it or stuff. Yeah. True.
My family is the
Yeah.
opposite of digital nomads because it's my family is full of teachers. They work for the government. They
Okay.
are based in the same spot. They don't move, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm just saying that we have like uh, opposites and thousands of possibilities in the middle, and
Yeah. True.
wherever you like, don't complain because it's all about choices. You have also like you
Mm,
said, the people who says, okay, my obstacles, the difficulties I encounter is that it's harder to have long-term relationship. They still prefer this lifestyle
mm,
rather than
yeah.
this. So it's
Yeah.
very powerful that they choose this
Yeah.
flexibility rather than being with someone they think they could be with for the rest of their lives. It's a hard choice to make, I guess.
The good thing you're pointing out, because that's apparently the decision they are making. That may be a subconscious or a conscious decision. I'm not always sure. And it's true. I very much agree with you. I'm very much an advocate of living a life on your own terms. And I do believe that you can make decisions that change your life around. You know what I mean? You're not bound by what happens to you. You can work with what happens in your life. You know what I mean? And it's either about if you don't like something, change it if you can, accept it if you cannot. But complaining is never going to get you anywhere. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, and sometimes, no, everyone in life, no matter the lifestyle, we all make compromises and we all have to. I mean, realistically, we can never have it all because some of our needs are actually very like conflicting,
uh,
contradictory, right? So, which choice do you make? Yeah. And I think that's relevant for literally everyone, not just people in a digital nomad lifestyle. But it's true. Sometimes, yeah, flexibility over long term relationships. Yeah, it's true.
and I think we also underestimates the our reaction to what's glamorous, right? Because some
Yeah.
lifestyle are more glamorous than others, and even
Mm,
unconsciously, we all. I mean, it
mm,
depends, but a lot of us, and I definitely do it, unconsciously. You tend to think that's a better way, right? If you're in the same
mm,
company every day, you take your car, you take the same road. There's nothing
mm,
glamorous about it when you talk about it to people. But if it's your lifestyle, fuck it, you like it, you like it, you know. But then it's tricky
yeah.
sometimes. You want to say, only
Yeah.
if I could be over there, only if I could travel and do
Yeah.
my work. And I think it's what I discovered also with this a little 6 month abroad
Mm,
experience, because we traveled a little bit before, so it was almost a year.
mm,
And after a year we were like, oh, we want to settle down,
Yeah.
we want to see our family, and we're like, oh, it's not what we thought you would be. It's not. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, we discovered that about ourselves. I think it's good that
Yeah.
maybe people should try it as well, so they know if it's.
Yeah, the best realization is the one you have after trying out something. And if the experience is not for you, then at least you don't have to wonder about it anymore. So that's better, I would
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
than never trying it and not knowing it's not for you because you never tried it. Because, yeah. But yeah, it's something just crossed my mind. What was it? I just lost the thought. It'll come
we
back.
talked about trying, about going abroad, and saying, "Oh, after
Oh,
a year, we
yes.
need." Like,
True.
yeah, okay, you got it.
True. I got it. It's true that the grass always seems, like for many of us, always seems greener on the other
Yeah,
side, right? And again, and digital nomadism, as we call it, it's definitely a grass that seems greener for many.
yeah,
But it's funny because oftentimes I'm being asked about like the benefits of this lifestyle. I like to talk more about it because it's intriguing for many people. However,
yeah,
the conclusion I drew for myself, basically, and which seems to hold true for many people, is that it definitely doesn't fit most types of people. It
yeah,
doesn't. It's somehow like, there's people with different kinds of hobbies. Someone who loves playing the piano, there's some people who love playing the piano, but most people do not. And it's the exact same thing. It doesn't fit many people. We are just another tiny group with a specific type of hobby that's not very common, to be honest.
yeah.
I just lost you, I think. Your
Oh,
camera.
oh no,
Ah,
okay,
you're back.
I'm back.
But and many people do dream about it and would love to hear more about it, but then actually realize, I don't like it as much, and they create the compromise for themselves to have like one base, one specific location that they build their house, that they do live,
Yeah,
uh,
would be
that they do
interesting.
live in, and then moving around and traveling from that place, but always have a place to come back to, and also very much a place to store their things, store their items, because that's often also something
Yeah,
we
it's
are
true.
sometimes literally living out of our suitcase, and that's also not for everyone. Even me, at some point, I'm like, okay, I would like to have a cupboard again, or I would like to have like a proper apartment again where I can unpack, stay long enough for it to be worth unpacking, etc.
Yeah,
But many people do need a stable home base that they can always come back to, because it also gives them the peace of mind to then go ahead and travel and move around and maybe be gone, maybe be away for a month or two, but enjoy it more than if they wouldn't have that apartment or that house back
yeah.
where they came from or where they decided to settle. So that seems to be a nice compromise for many people. Yeah, yeah.
And I was thinking of something at the same time. How do you do with taxes?
Yeah, so I
I
am
mean, you
not
don't have to say
registered.
you personally, but in general.
Okay. Oh, okay,
Um,
okay. Well, it really depends per person. So, for me, the Netherlands is very like strict in the sense of you live here or you don't. If you
yeah,
don't,
France as well. Yeah.
and you're okay, I didn't know. Well, then you have to like unregister with the government, and you're no longer a resident. I still have my
Okay.
Dutch passport. I still have my passport, of course, but I cannot even extend my passport in my own birth country. I would have to go abroad, go to an embassy, pay double amount of money, and get a new passport.
Okay.
I cannot even do it in my own country. Basically, that's the rules, right? So, given that I'm not registered anywhere as an individual, I wasn't paying taxes for the past time because because the company I was working for, the government of that country didn't charge taxes for people who were not physically present in the country, and I wasn't. So it was legal for me not to pay
Wow.
taxes. No one was asking for my taxes. I was like, sure, I'll keep them then. You know what I mean?
No, but
However,
I never thought that you would have to cut kind of, you had to cut the cord with your native country. I
yeah,
never thought of that. Of course, I thought you
yeah.
were just not living there anymore and just saying, "Hey, I don't know how we work in France. Maybe it would just say, hey, I'm not living there anymore. That's all." Um,
Yeah, it's different per country, and I know most countries are not like this. Most countries do allow you to stay registered, even though you're not living there. But usually it does mean you have to enroll in the full package, like get your health insurance sorted, if it's an obligation in your country to have that, pay your taxes, etc. And the moment I like unregistered, I could also stop paying my health insurance because I mean it's not cheap in Netherlands, right? I could stop paying taxes for jobs I had abroad, because it wouldn't even make sense anyways, unless you prove like you pay taxes in one country, so you don't have to pay them in the other. That's this kind of bilateral agreement that many countries have. But generally, it depends on the country you're from, the country you're staying in, the work that you do, if you work for someone else or if you work for yourself. So there's many variables. So this is different for everyone. Right now, for example, starting my own business. So I did register my business in the US. Because again,
in
the
the
Netherlands
US.
was more, yes, because in the Netherlands it was more difficult for me to register than being a foreigner registering in the US. But then
Wow.
I'll
And
start.
how can you register in the US if you don't live there?
Not a problem. They're very easy. You can get an online agent, register online. A few days later, you'll receive the incorporation forms, basically. But then you'll have to start paying taxes in the US over any business income that you make, of course.
Yeah, sure.
So my situation recently changed, basically.
Because the trick is, the worst situation is if you're registered. Let's say I'm from France. I go I don't know, in Bali to have a drink with you, and I want to yeah, and I want to and I do my some business. Then France would still ask me for taxes even though I'm not living there anymore. So you have double taxation. So we've looked at different solutions with friends and entrepreneurs, and it's you need to. That's why you need to cut. You need to I don't know how do we unregister in France. Anyways, it's good. It's good to know. It's good to know. We'd have to look into it. Yeah.
Well, just a side note there, actually, it is different for everyone, so I can't give you black and white rules. However,
No.
Yeah, if there's double taxation, if you're just living somewhere abroad but not actually working there because you're doing your own work on your laptop, but you're just physically there, then the country where you're at doesn't have anything to do with your taxes normally. But
Unless there is one thing that I know, is that they can say, yeah, but all your clients are in France. There is something about
Yeah, but if you were in Bali, for example, Bali wouldn't, like Indonesia, wouldn't charge your taxes.
Oh yeah.
If you're still registered in France, even though you're living in Bali, for example, I could imagine that France will still charge you. But then you're not double charged, right? Because Bali is not taking anything France is, for example. However, when I was working in Malaysia, when I was working in East Africa and still registered in the Netherlands for some time, also because I was working for a Dutch organization, I was back regularly, etc. I could show the Netherlands. No, how am I saying that? I needed to show Burundi, for example, in East Africa, that I was paying my taxes in the Netherlands, so they would stop charging me taxes. So you can prove to one of the countries that you're paying it in the other one, and if they have a bilateral agreement, then this can remove the double taxation, and you can just pay taxes in one of the countries. But again, many variables. It really depends on the situation you're in. Yeah.
And so how did you find your work at MindValley? How did it happen?
Yeah, I had a friend who worked there, so I knew the company through her. And after I wanted to quit my job in East Africa because the conflict had started again, it was very tough to build sustainable projects. And it was tough. So I decided to leave. And I decided, okay, let me try then apply at MindValley. I did. First, I got rejected, actually, because I applied for a role that wasn't a full fit. Okay. Then I tried again a few months later, and they hired me. And I literally, moved there 2 months later, I think.
In Malaysia?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they were based in the US at the beginning. And what was your role there?
I was a project manager at first, and then I became a team lead. And that's interesting. It's nice that you're asking, actually. I became a team lead, but I myself was a contractor already at that time. So for 2 years, I worked at MindValley as a project manager. I worked at the office in Malaysia, etc. So I was not a digital nomad even at the time because I worked at the office. But then I became a contractor, so I could travel again, but I kept my job basically, but became more flexible with it. And then they asked me to set up a remote team, hire people who were living, doesn't matter where actually, because we were translating our courses into various languages. So we wanted to hire a project manager who was a native speaker in each of those languages. So obviously they would be spread over the world because those countries are somewhere else everywhere, right? Are all somewhere else. So I actually hired people I'd never met before, except one. Actually, one I knew before. The others never met before, put a team together, set up all the processes, all the systems, everything. And yeah, I was leading the whole team remotely. Everyone was working and being somewhere else in the world, in Europe, South America, Southeast Asia. So time zone wise, that was quite a challenge to get our meetings
Wow.
sorted. But other than that, it was an amazing experience. And it taught me so much, being a team lead, of course, in the first place. But being a remote team lead, that's a different story. And it's such a valuable experience, I would say, to go through. Was very grateful to have that.
Yeah, for people who don't know, MindValley is a company who builds online courses. How would you define it? Actually, you define it. You work there.
True, and we met through there as well, actually, right? So
yeah, in Barcelona. I talked in Barcelona,
yes,
and you were the person taking care of me at MindValley. That's how I met.
yes, oh, yes, it's true. Well,
It's true.
MindValley is it's true, right? It's managing all the logistics and all. MindValley is a company that's creating online courses and also was organizing live events, less of course now, that are all in the industry of personal development. So everything we do is related to self-growth, personal development, and we're basically, or they are now basically, trying to build an alternative system to the current education system. Because MindValley believes, and so do I, that the current education system, what we learn at schools, part of it is not relevant anymore for the current lives that we live and the current society that we live in. But also, we never really added soft skills, social skills, etc., to the school curriculums. So many life skills we're not actually learning at school. We're only learning in our adult life. Once already like older, it's more difficult to actually learn new skills from scratch, but also already 20, 30 years old by then. And we could use those skills earlier on in life. So what MindValley is doing, and I very much love that mission, that's also why it was amazing to work for the company, is to provide an alternative educational system through focusing on personal growth, personal development, and social skills, life skills that we can actually pragmatically use in our current lives and current societies. Yeah.
And they're focusing on university first, right? When you say schools, it's mainly on I saw the MindValley University thing.
Yes and no, because we were very much focused on individuals, so people who felt like they could use additional soft skills, social skills, life skills. They could either come to one of the events or buy one of the courses. But we're also since I think about a year or two working at schools itself. Indeed, we started with a test school in Finland, and that was the primary school or a high school. I'm not fully sure because I wasn't on a project. But what we're doing, what you're referring to, where we met as well, that was called MindValley University. And it's basically a 1 month event. So 1 month long, people from all over the world fly to and live in the same location on the planet. So for example, we were in Barcelona, we were in Tallinn, we were in Croatia last year. This year was going to be in Amsterdam, but it got cancelled, of course. It's a shame. And then people live together for a month, go to daily talks, workshops, classes as well, but everything in self-development, right? So nothing in relation to traditional school systems. And again, we really build that community of like-minded people who are all like open to exploring other sides of life and exploring almost like the edges of our being and the edges of our knowing. And we call it MindValley University, but it's not specifically tied to school. We call it university because, again, it's the alternative to the educational system that we're offering.
Yeah. And it's a good place to work there for digital nomads?
Well, it depends, because when you work there at the office, of course, you're not really a digital nomad. But other than that, yes, I would say, because MindValley is super flexible when it comes to working remotely as well. Actually, the CEO recently also relocated. So right now the company is, to an extent, remote again. So yes, I would say it's a good place to work for digital nomads. Yeah.
The CEO what? What did you say?
He relocated, so he's now actually
Oh,
based in Europe. Based in Europe. The office
oh,
is still in Malaysia, but also because of COVID, etc.,
okay,
things are shifting there as well. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah,
Mm,
it's a cool company. There are a lot of
yeah,
they do a lot of good things. They do a lot of good things.
yeah.
And you actually do your own thing now about mindfulness, right? So
True. Yeah.
what do you do exactly?
So I'm a certified meditation and mindfulness trainer. I was
Yeah.
trained in Thailand. Yeah, early like beginning of this year, trained in Thailand by Buddhist monks actually. So I followed this 3-week intensive training. It was like almost like a Vipassana retreat in the sense of like no internet connection, fully offline, 3 weeks meditating 4 hours a day, then classes 4 hours a day, very intensive, waking up 5 a.m. in the morning, all of that. And ever since, I've been teaching my own meditation classes. And what my vision is actually what I'm building right now is an international wellness brand, an international meditation brand, basically, under which I'd like to franchise live meditation classes. Because Zumba, for example, or Soul Cycle, Peloton, don't know if you've heard of them all, they're actually international brands that franchise fitness workout classes, that also franchise yoga classes, all these kinds of things, and are super successful. But it
Mm,
hasn't been done for meditation just yet. And meditation is often either taught online these days, of course, or in local classes. Some cities have them, some cities don't. And what I'd like to see happen is for meditation to be present, to be available, accessible, and to be pragmatic, down to earth almost, everywhere in the world. Because
mm,
meditation, from my perspective, from the market research I've done, etc., as well, meditation is still seen by many people either as spiritual and something you need to like train yourself in for years before feeling any benefits,
yeah.
or seen as something for like entrepreneurs, high performers in life, and people who don't
Mm, it's true.
associate themselves with either. They're often not really attracted by it,
Mm, mm,
or they would go and use some of the meditation apps, right? Calm, Headspace, etc.
yeah.
However, these apps are great, as like they're great starters. But what I would say is that they're also slightly it's more difficult to go in depth with these apps because there's no
Yeah.
personal
I
support,
agree. I
there's no
use
real
Headspace.
community. Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, you may be able to relate to what I'm saying. At some point, it's like
Yeah.
you have your daily practice, and that's really amazing. And then what? It's almost like what's the next step? Where's the next level, right? How to improve my practice? How to go deeper in it? And the community feel. The community is super important, especially nowadays. And we noticed this at MindValley as well. Many people would come to, for example, this month-long event, not as much for the workshops that we taught, but for the people whom they would then see again after a year. And people were so looking
Mm,
forward to reconnecting because often in their own hometown, they may feel like kind of a stranger, like kind of someone who's different than the rest. And this one time a year, they would actually reconnect with so many people who are the same way they are and feel like
yeah.
they're together with yeah, like-minded
It's
people.
often the case with many
Yeah.
camps, many workshops.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I used to do judo camps. It was the same thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's the same with
Exactly.
fighters or chess players or whatever. You go back
Exactly.
to see the people who are like-minded. And how would you define the how would you say is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Some people mix both. They
Mm.
think it's the same. Or is it different? Or how would you define that?
I really like that question because it's true. Many people see it as the same. I mean, there is definitely overlap, but it's not exactly the same thing because
Okay.
meditation in its original sense is really sitting down consciously, taking a moment, closing your eyes, and either observing your breathing or going through guided meditation or using music. Doesn't even matter technique you use, but it's really
Mm,
sitting down and taking a moment to consciously close your eyes and sit with yourself. Mindfulness, on the other hand, you can actually see it as meditating with your eyes open. Mindfulness is really going through the day mindfully, meaning consciously and aware. So meditation is kind of meditating with your eyes closed.
mm,
Mindfulness, meditating with your eyes open. And of course, they strengthen each other, right? The more you meditate, the
Yeah, it's
easier generally.
almost like a practice to mindfulness, right?
Yes, exactly. It's almost like the technique you can use to become more mindful in life. And if you're more mindful in life, from my perspective, and this is, I would say, the main benefit of it, life becomes easier. Literally, there are so many challenges and problems you can see if you want to see them, definitely. And so did I in the past. I'm not definitely not perfect. And if anything, I'm such an advocate of this right now because I myself needed it so much before. And now that I've gotten more into meditation, mindfulness, things became lighter, easier, more positive, more fun, and just more worth it as well. And it's easier to let things slide, to make decisions about what you should or what I decide to care and not care about. Because I used to
Yeah.
care too much. It was unhealthy. It was weighing me down, literally. Because I used to believe that I myself could change the world, that I was trying. We're living East Africa in conflict areas, trying to manage the projects, etc. Now I realize I cannot do it myself. No, so that's why I switched industries basically, and now I'm working on spreading meditation to the mainstream. Let's say by making it very pragmatic, very down to earth, to move it away from the spiritual perspective that many people have with it still, and make it more, useful for life, basically.
So how concretely would you do that when I'm doing devil's advocate and
Sure,
some
go for
people
it.
are in their everyday job and they say, yeah, but sitting 5 minutes it's not gonna solve the situation, blah blah blah. That kind of thinking. How what would you say to those people, and how would you approach a practice that can help them to be more mindful every day and calmer and careless? How would you do this practically?
I think if people have the mindset that 5 minutes a day of this type of practice will not solve anything, I think it's hard for me to say or do something that will change their mind, because in the end, it will come down to their own decisions and mindsets. However, I would tackle this challenge by making meditation and mindfulness as accessible as possible and as pragmatic as possible, in the sense of really making the entry level and the entry barrier as low as possible, meaning making it as concrete as I can, showing the exact benefits that come with it, showing the various ways in which you can practice this as well. Because if you say meditation, if you say mindfulness, people often have a very black and white, one-sided perspective of what that is, but it can be many things. There's
Yeah,
many ways to meditate. There's many ways to be more mindful and to practice mindfulness as well. And maybe some of them may not relate to someone, and maybe
yeah,
some of the other ones do. So I think it's mostly about showing the full picture so people can decide for themselves what speaks to them and what doesn't. Because I don't think it's about convincing. I think it's about showing.
yeah.
And then if people by themselves become interested, that's much more powerful than me trying to be like, no, 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 but it really can help you. Please come to
Yeah.
the class. You know what I mean? So it's like moving towards each other, I would say. I'm showing, and they're
The
hopefully
experimenting, they try.
exactly. And once you start, then it's about experiencing the benefits and then being intrinsically motivated to continue. Yeah.
And so on the entrepreneurial side, and just
Mhm.
linking to that, so you were saying you organize retreats, you were a certified teacher, so I guess you give courses and guided meditation to groups and workshops and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then you
sure.
decided to you wanted to scale your business, basically.
Basically, yes. So because of the scaling part, I stepped away from retreats as a regular thing. So that's something that I do as a hobby, almost like on the side when yeah, of course, right now it's also not actually possible. So the few retreats we had planned, we had to reschedule, unfortunately, of course.
Yeah.
But right now I'm focused on classes, and I'm focused on delivering those classes and offering those classes in existing venues like yoga schools and even like gyms, because people already often do go to the gym, for example. And to make meditation as accessible as possible for them, it's
Mm.
much easier for them to quickly take this 10, 15-minute meditation class after their workout or even before their workout sometimes. much easier and accessible than them having to sign up to a meditation school or even a yoga school if that's not their thing, and then trying to like get them into the practice through signing
Yeah.
up for something at a location they would normally never go to. So it's really about bringing the practice to people,
Yeah.
and having them surrounded by it. So if they're interested, it's easy for them to enroll, easy for them to get
Um,
started. So
yeah,
it's
I
really
like
about
it. I like this idea. It's
localizing.
great.
Yeah, yeah. It's really about
Not bad.
localizing it.
Not bad. You know, in France, they don't know how to
Yeah,
say
I know.
compliments. French
I
people,
know.
they don't know how to say, "Wow, it's amazing." They have
Yeah,
to
not
say,
bad.
Pas mal, pas mal, ça va, ça va."
I
Yeah, pas
know.
mal.
I know.
The
Yep.
best compliment you'll get. No, it's a good idea. I think it's great. I think it's a great
Thank
idea.
you.
And I was thinking that there is definitely something to do with fighters, MMA fighters, judo fighters, because we have this image of because they do martial arts and they're very spiritual already, but it's not like that, because high level competitors, they have a lot of stress to deal with.
Yeah.
And they don't know, they have no tools to deal with it. They have no, okay, maybe sometimes they have a mental coach and stuff like that, but this is really for the
Mm,
higher. But let's say you have the top three,
mhm,
um this whole part where they're like semi-pro.
mhm.
I know a lot of them from judo, from Brazilian jiu-jitsu, from
Ah,
MMA. And actually there was a guy in Amsterdam, he was telling me that he had it was hard for him to handle his stress, and I don't know how he put it, but I said, oh, have you tried meditation? And he said, no, I never. And I gave him a course on meditation. I mean, I just
uh-huh.
taught him what I knew, because I did it for a
Yeah.
couple of years and read so many stuff about it. Tell me a couple of techniques like you did. And I think, okay, for him it was not the best, he told me, but it was great that he learned it. It calmed him down, but it was, there is
Mm,
something to do, some kind of special preparation linked to mindfulness. And for some
yeah.
people, as you say, it depends on each people. For some, to meditation, but definitely something to do, because imagine you're MMA fighters, you go in a cage with someone, you need to be prepared mentally for that. The cage closed behind
Yeah.
you, you need some kind of you need to prepare for that.
Hyper focus. Yeah. But it's
Yeah, you
interesting
need
that
to.
you're bringing this up. So first of all, you just gave me a business idea, so thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, of
Yeah.
course I'm thinking of
Yeah.
because you said bringing it
The people.
to
Yeah.
to gym, to people, to like
Yeah.
let's say. So if I'm a, because they, I mean, it's not the same, but when you say bringing it to people, I'm thinking about sauna. When you go to no, because you go to a gym and there is a sauna there, and it's like kind of a plus, and you pay, and then you think, maybe, yeah, but I paid for this, but also have the sauna and
Maybe I can
access
use
to
a
musculation.
speaker. Maybe I can
Huh?
use a speaker in the sauna to guide a meditation. Actually, another
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, why not, why not. And but
Oh
I'm also thinking, you register in the gym as a fighter,
wow.
and they
Mm.
say, oh, you have access to this, you have access to that, and also
And
you
then
have
maybe
access to
check it out.
meditation courses,
Mm.
and it's a plus. I would pay more. And definitely fighters would, if there is some kind
Yes.
of
Mm.
special mental preparation, they would be like, that's because no, I my actually one of my best friends is a judo and sambo teacher,
Mm.
and he does a lot for his competitors, and he's great, but he has to do it on a personal individual level, and he's not
Mm.
offering a real mental meditation preparation. So anyways,
Mm.
just thinking about that, I don't have a solution, just thoughts.
That was
I think
interesting.
is
And it's,
yeah.
I mean, it's also interesting that you're bringing it up because, I mean, I'm not an MMA fighter, but I do Muay Thai, which is similar to kickboxing, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
totally love it. So I have like these two sides, right? Like Zen, and like, bah!
yeah.
But it's true because MMA, in a sense, is, I mean, call it spiritual or whatever you want to call it, but in a sense, it's quite similar because it's about hyper focus. It's about
Mm,
streamlining the energy flows so you can be super fast, super strong, etc. And it's in a sense similar. The practice
yeah.
and how to get there is in a sense similar. It's what's been said about it already as well. And
Yeah, I
and you
was
just
about, yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, no, I was just about to jump on that quickly. I just
Yeah,
I was about to say when I fight and just at training,
yeah,
it's for me it's the best meditation because I cannot
yeah.
think of anything
Mm,
else, especially if the guy in front
exactly.
is tough. I have
Mm,
to focus really as the each move, and so you have to really super. It's the best meditation for me when I go out. I'm like, wow, that was a complete disconnect, especially
yeah, go in the
especially in
zone.
the sparring.
Yeah,
The sparring fight, but the part.
yeah,
But when
yeah.
you're at home and you're thinking of the competition and you're thinking, oh, this is gonna happen. My parents are gonna be in the room. Everything
Mm,
is coming up, and it's about dealing that part as well. I think.
very true. Yeah, thanks. I'll look into that actually. Let's talk more about it as well offline. And you reminded me of one of, yeah, a good friend of mine from the US. And he's been loving these meditations as well. I put some on YouTube and he's been using them. And he texted me the other day about how he uses the meditation to prepare himself for his intense workouts. So he's now
Mm.
getting his own like workout channel set up, etc. And I was like, oh, interesting. Tell me more. Like, why? What's the benefit? How is it helping you? He's like, yeah, it helps me to get in the zone. It helps me to get in the hyper focus because my workouts are so intense. It helps to stick through. It's like that's very
Mm.
interesting, and so it's similar to what you're saying here, basically, getting you ready
And it
to
would be all
enter
different
that
for different
zone.
people
Yeah,
as well. It would be
yeah,
different
of
for
course.
different.
True.
But what I've noticed is that for people who wants to be pro and who are starting to be pro, I'm not talking about the best. Again, I'm not talking about
Mm,
the 10 first people of a national level. I'm talking about the guy right behind. Those guys usually they don't have any strategy. They just training hard and harder and training harder, and it's just the volume. So
yeah,
they don't have a strategy, they don't have a preparation, and some, not all of them, but some people actually do, and they do this and they do that. So it's yeah, it
yeah,
would be. I'm curious what you're gonna develop around that.
yeah.
I want to
I'll
know.
let
I
you
want
know.
to know.
You'll get
Yeah.
royalties. No worries.
So what's next for you
Yeah.
now? What are your next plans and what are you gonna do now?
I'll be launching my new meditation program soon. So anyone interested, feel free to sign up.
Me?
Yes, yeah, actually, yes, I'll send it to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
not
cool.
kidding. Yeah, and yeah, I'm looking to start the first franchise location basically. So I'll run that first location myself, so I can test all the elements and everything that's needed. So I can then start attracting trainers who are interested to be trained to start guiding, say, meditation classes under the brand that I'm establishing. So I'm literally full on focused on this. Um, Day and night, basically.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, yeah. I do think when you're I mean, I think when you're starting your own company, your own business, it's like your life's work. At least for the
I am.
beginning,
I
everything
know.
revolves around it. You're like
Especially
in
when you already have a
it.
business. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, no, no, it's
yeah,
of course. No,
mm,
but it's good because a lot of people kind of their attention
yeah,
is kind of everywhere and they're not laser focused, and so no, it's good. Yeah.
yeah.
So well, can people already find you somewhere? Are people already look into your business, what you do already? Can you share a
Definitely, yeah.
website, something like that?
Yes, definitely. Website is up live. You can sign up for any of the programs, retreats, events that we have. It's www.samavera.com.
How do you
Maybe
write that? How do you
S
spell it?
A, yeah, SAMAVIRA, Samavera. I'll post
Okay.
it below this video as well. Yeah,
I haven't looked into it, by the way. I'm bad.
you
I
should.
should have. I should have. I should have. I will
No, it is
definitely.
totally fine.
And
Totally fine.
yeah, where do you want to share something else about your work and where people can find you for maybe for your retreat or something like that? Is there some
Uh,
website?
yeah, I think I put everything together on the website because
Okay.
there's so many offers, etc. I want to keep
Yeah.
it neat and clean, so
Perfect.
everything will be there. You can find contact information for me in case of more questions.
And
So
you
just
do
go to
things
the
on you do things online as well now with the
website.
COVID?
Yes, yes,
Cool.
yes,
All
yes.
right.
I teach my
So
weekly
guys,
classes online as well. Yeah.
and girls, if you want to meditate,
Aww.
if you want to learn more, you can go there
Yes.
and book a class course. It's good to
Thank you.
good. It's good to know. Good to know. All
Yes.
right. Well, that's it. Do you want to
Thank you
add
so
something
much.
else?
No, no, I think it was a complete full hour. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
talked
I
about so many
think
topics.
we'll do another one. We'll do another one when your business
Yes,
is
I love
launched
to.
and you have stuff to tell us about
Yeah,
how it went. How do you do more, maybe more on the entrepreneurial side
exactly.
one
Yeah, I
day?
love to.
It'd be cool. It'd be
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
I'd love
All right.
to.
Well,
Thank you
anyways,
so much
thank
for
you so
having me.
much.
Yeah.
Guys who are watching, I'm gonna put some notes, especially on YouTube, about this podcast episode. Put some comments below. Thumbs up if you liked it. Share it with your friends. And yeah. And Lauren, I see you soon. All right.
Yes. See you soon.
Thank you
Bye.
for your time. Bye.
Thank you.